Greetings, boys and girls. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about ordering and comparing decimals. Some of you may be wondering, why on earth do we need this skill? That's a great question that you're asking. And there are actually a number of reasons why we want to be able to do this. For starters, you may find yourself one day taking a road trip. And on that road trip, you have to decide which is the best route to take. Should you take Highway 35 or should you take 281? You may need to compare the distance, which is probably going to be a decimal, to see which is going to be better for your gas mileage. You would also want to look at comparing and ordering decimals with a race. You want to see who won, who got the fastest speed. And when you make it to the Olympics, you want to see, did you set a world record with your speed? Okay, so you would be comparing decimals yet again. And then there's the one that's near and dear to all of our hearts, the one that we'll probably be using for a good portion of our lives, and that's looking at money. You want to know, do you have enough money saved up to actually purchase that item that you want to purchase? And there are very few times when I go to the store and I don't have a number with a decimal in it. I also might want to see, do I have, how much more money do I need to save for something? We are now ready to get into the lesson. And with many concepts in math, there are more than one ways to do that particular thing. That is the case for comparing and ordering decimals. We're going to look at a few of the ways you can do that today, and we're going to start with one that we are all pretty familiar with. And that would be our trusty number line. When we're working with a number line and we want to compare numbers or decimals, the numbers or decimals that are on the right are going to be larger than those that are on the left. As we can see on this number line, 9 would definitely be greater than 3 because it is farthest to the right. Let's look at this example with Brandon and Ricardo, who were racing. Well, Brandon ran his race in 4 89/100ths of a minute, while Ricardo finished his race in 4 83/100ths of a minute. So we want to see who ran the fastest. Well, the first thing I'm thinking to myself is, when we're running faster, I want to have a smaller time. So I'm going to use this number line and plot where each of the fellows ended up. After plotting both of their times, I see that 4 83/100ths of a time was smaller than 4 89 minutes time. Therefore, Ricardo ran fastest since he had a smaller time. Now we're going to try one together. I need you to pull out your accountability sheet and we're going to look at this Minecraft example together. Again, this problem that we're going to do together is going to go along with number 1 on your accountability sheet. So on Monday night, 48/100ths of an hour was spent playing Minecraft. And then on Tuesday night, 6/10ths of an hour was spent on Minecraft. On which night was more time spent on Minecraft? Well, what I want to do is I want to actually be able to use a number line to compare these amounts. So you'll notice I gave you a grid as well as a number line. I'm going to focus on the number line right now. So I want to actually plot 48/100ths. And I know that it's going to be in between 4/10 and 5/10 because when I look at 48/100ths, I have a 4 in the tenths place. And so it's going to be right here, okay, where I have my little green dot. I know it's kind of small. And that's going to be 48/100ths, what he did on Monday night. And then I want to plot my 6/10ths. Well, that's pretty easy because it's actually already labeled for us. And so now when I look at this, when I'm thinking about when more time was spent, I want to look for a larger number. And because 6/10ths is farther to the right, that would be the night he spent more time on Minecraft. And therefore, my answer is 6/10ths. I'm going to give you a moment to go ahead and plot this on your number line. And in the event that you need more time than I give you, just press pause on the video. So you'll notice that I ignored the grid for a moment. It looks like a hundreds grid. Now I'm going to look at this grid because this is another way that I can actually compare decimals. I can use grids. And when I use the grids, I'm going to look and see, okay, did I fill one up more than the other? If I did, then that one has the larger amount. So looking at the 48/100ths of an hour spent on Monday night, I can actually fill this in. I would fill 4 of these longs on here to represent 4/10ths. 1, 2, my third one, and then my fourth one. And then in my 5th tenth, I'm not going to fill it all the way. I'm just going to fill up to 8. So I'd go right about that much. I'm trying to do it neatly with my little stylus. So that would be my 48/100ths. Now for Tuesday night, it would be 6/10ths. And I would actually just fill in 6 of these tenths. I'd go all the way up. So let me try and get this in a little bit more. Okay. And you can see in my not so perfect filling in of this that the 6/10ths definitely looks more. I filled in more of that grid than I did of my 48/100ths. So therefore, Tuesday night, more time was spent. That would be my answer. All right, for this next problem, you're going to be using your accountability sheet again. We're looking at number 2. This time, we're going to order these distances from least to greatest. So while playing the Pokemon Go augmented reality game, these Pokemon characters were various distances away from where we started. So Charizard was 8/100ths of a mile away, while Arcanine was 3/10ths of a mile away, and then Flareon was 29/100ths of a mile away. So we want to see from least to greatest who, where these Pokemon characters were. So I'm going to use the decimal grid to just fill them in, and the one that has the fewest squares filled in is going to be the least, and the one that has the most squared in is going to be the greatest. So let me go ahead and fill those in really quickly. So after filling in my grids, I noticed that Charizard had the least amount because I only filled in 8 of the 100 squares. And then the next smallest amount was Flareon. because I filled in 29 of the 100 grids squares there, and then the greatest distance was definitely arc 9, since I filled in 30 of the little squares, the 100 squares. So take a moment and fill in your squares, your decimal grids as well. Make sure that you include the distances so that we know what you are filling in. And then make sure that you order them, as you see I did with my numbers. That works, or if you want to write on the side the decimals in order. I'll give you a moment to get that done. If you still need more time, go ahead and pause this video. Okay, we're now going to take a pretend trip to the youth center, and we are going to be buying some snacks. Man, everything looks so good. I don't know what I want to get first. Well, we need to see who has more money, you or your friend. Now, this is the last method we're going to use to compare decimals, and it's probably a method that you'll want to remember, because you can use this method no matter how large your number is. And with this method, we're simply going to stack numbers up just like we did when we were comparing and ordering whole numbers. But we're going to stack them up, and here's the big, super duper, extremely important idea we have to keep in mind. We need to make sure that we always line our decimal point up so that our ones are in the same place, they're stacked on top of each other, and then our tenths are in the same place, and our hundredths are in the same place. I'm going to use this little decimal grid. You also have a copy of the decimal grid in your binders, but if you want to just stack the numbers up on top of each other, you can feel free to do that. Make sure, again, boys and girls, that we line our decimal point up and our ones place up. All right, and looking at how much money you have $2 bills, and then 2 quarters, so that's $2.50, plus 3 dimes, so that'd be 50, 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents. So you have $2.80. Now we can look at how much money your friend has. And boys and girls, let me also say, this is number 3 on your accountability sheet, so make sure you fill this in. Your friend has also $2, and then they have 3 quarters. So we know each quarter is worth 25 cents, so that's $2.25, 50, 75 cents. $2.75. So I know some people, when they heard that number, they were like, oh, I immediately know who has more. But let's look at these numbers when we stack them up. When I stack them up, I always start with the largest place value, and I see which one is larger. So when I'm looking at the largest place value, I have the ones place, and they're both the same. So I then move to the tenths place. And when I look in the tenths place, I notice that you have more money than your friend. You have more tenths. You have 8 tenths as opposed to your friend has 7 tenths. Therefore, you would have more money. I do not need to keep looking at the next place value, because the second largest place value, you have a greater amount than your friend. We can just conclude that you have the most money. I'm going to give you a few moments to go ahead and write this on your paper, on your accountability sheet. If you still need more time, feel free to pause the video. So to recap our lesson, we talked about 3 ways that you can compare and order decimals. The first way we talked about was using a number line. And we know that the decimals that would be farthest to the right would be larger than those that are farthest to the left. We also talked about filling in a decimal grid and then comparing what you see visually. Which one did you fill more squares in? And then the third and final way that we talked about comparing and ordering decimals today was to simply line up the place values. You could use a place value chart. You can create it yourself, but we always wanted to make sure that we lined up like place values, decimals under decimals, ones place under ones place, tenths place under tenths place. And when we start comparing, we figure out the largest one by looking at the largest place value that's in our number. All right, the last thing I need you guys to do on your accountability sheet is to tell me, what did you think of the video? Did you like it? Was it too fast? Give me your feedback. And then make sure that your first and last name is on your accountability sheet. Because if you turn it in and I don't know who it is, I can't give you credit. All right, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you in class pretty soon. Bye.